Oliver, what measures are being introduced to tackle this latest series of clusters?
Well, among the measures announced tonight by Chief Executive Carrie Lam was most drastically was public gatherings, which up until now have been a maximum of 50 people. They will now be capped at 4, which is back to where we were back in March and April. There are also restrictions on restaurants. They now will be forced to do takeout service only between the hours of 6 p.m. and 5 a.m. About 12 other types of facilities, including bars, gyms and health centres and mah-jong parlours, will also be forced to close for 7 days. This is a 7-day measure. It's quite possible it might be revisited at the end of that week, which will start at midnight on Wednesday. It's quite possible, as I said, this could be revisited if there is not a significant drop in community cases. 2/3 of the 250 or so cases in the last 8 days have been locally transmitted. This is the first time such a high proportion have been homegrown, so to speak, in the 6 months of the pandemic so far.
Okay, and Oliver, what's the feeling about how the authorities have handled this whole pandemic? I mean, there's only been 8 cases. I believe there was 8 deaths, rather. The 8th death having been announced just earlier on today.
Well, from looking for most parts of the world, including Europe, it would appear that Hong Kong has done an incredibly good job at containing the coronavirus, especially as it was hit as early as the 22nd of January, and it is right on China's doorstep. There's only about 1,500 cases in all that time, and in fact the needle had barely moved on that for about 2 months, up until just a couple of weeks ago. However, people here, especially those on the pro-democracy side, are fairly loath to give any credit to the Hong Kong government. A lot of people say that it was actually Hong Kongers themselves who put the work in early on by adopting masks and social distancing and hygiene, so to speak. That is a little bit unfair. The government has actually reacted fairly well most of the way down the line, though they were a little bit slow at closing, or not so much closing the border, but implementing quarantine for arrivals from China in January, and also from mainland Europe and the US in March. But they've done fairly well. In fact, the government themselves have sort of tacitly admitted that they're not so popular by letting Hong Kong's Centre for Health Protection to take centre stage and more or less front most of the dealings with the public. That wasn't the case tonight with Carrie Lam, of course. Hong Kong has probably, because it was so badly affected by SARS with 299 deaths, has some of the best virologists and immunologists in the world. So they were very much put centre stage, and unlike in a lot of other parts of the world, they have the ear of the government.
Okay, France 24's Oliver Farry in Hong Kong. Thank you very much indeed for bringing us up to speed.